Paradise Towers, the second serial of Doctor Who's 24th season, first broadcast in 4 parts from the 5th to 26th of October 1987. When his companion Mel, played by Bonnie Langford, wants to go for a swim, the 7th Doctor takes her to the 22nd century to the titular Paradise Towers. The 7th Doctor, of course, being played by Sylvester McCoy. Paradise Towers is a kind of large, kind of luxurious building designed by the mysterious architect Cro-Agnon. And it's supposed to be kind of the pinnacle of luxury, and the like, with a magnificent pool on the 34th floor. However, when they arrive, they find Paradise Towers seemingly rather run down and almost abandoned. But not completely abandoned, as they find, well, 3 different types of people roaming the halls. The first people they end up encountering are the Kangs, kind of 2 rivaling gangs, mostly made up of teenage to young adult girls, who kind of treat each other as rivals and are they're tagging the place, they're running about, and mostly just trying to survive. Now, previously there had been 3 types of Kang gangs. There had been the Red Kangs, the Blue Kangs, and the Yellow Kangs. However, the Yellow Kangs have now been wiped out, have been killed, and so the Red Kangs and the Blue Kangs are partially trying to one-up each other, but also trying just to survive. The second group of people who they meet are the Resis, like the residents of the tower, who are mostly elderly, but then, as Mel ends up discovering, some of them have started adopting cannibalistic tendencies. Like, she ends up meeting 2 named Tabby and Tilda, played by Elizabeth Spriggs and Brenda Bruce, who, while they're kind of first offering her tea and cakes, and they're like, she soon discovers that they actually plan to keep her there until they eat her, which, yeah, that's quite disturbing. The main force, or the main kind of villains who the Doctor and Mel have to deal with, are the Caretakers, led by the Chief Caretaker, played by Richard Briers. And he's also quite dark. Well, the Caretakers themselves are actually quite dark. They've taken to roaming the halls along with their robotic cleaners. And the cleaners are designed, they're not just there to kind of suck up dust and suck up dirt from the floor. They're trying to kill people. Like, anyone they encounter in the hallways, they're killing them. Which does seem kind of odd. Now, they have to try and find a way to get everyone after they're alive, deal with the cleaners and the Caretakers, and ultimately find a way out. And they're assisted in this by, as I said, the Kangs, with the 2 main Kangs that they encounter being Fire Escape, played by Julie Brennan, and Binliner, played by Annabelle Uresha, who are 2 members of the Red Kangs, the 2 leaders of the Red Kangs. But then they also find out the Blue Kangs are not ultimately that different. They're just kind of scared and they're just trying to survive, with their leader being played by Catherine Cusack. And the last person to mention in this particular story that is of some relevance is Pex, played by Harold Cook. Now, while you've got the Kangs and the Resis and the Caretakers, Pex just seems to be an outlier. He's pretty much designated himself as protector of Paradise Towers, and is there to make sure that everything goes right, but then he also seems to be a little scared. And it's eventually revealed why this is the way it is. That shortly after Paradise Towers was built, everyone, or a large portion of the people who were in Paradise Towers were called off to fight a war. And the only ones who really remained there were the very young, who eventually became the Kangs, and the older, like the people who were too old to fight, who eventually became the Resis, i.e. the residents. Now, as I said, not all the Resis are cannibalistic. I mean, even towards the end, one of them, Maddie, played by Julie Cornwell, does seem to be a nice person. But one of the things I do like, well, actually, I'll get to that. No. But then the kind of big secret behind Cro-Agnon being revealed, that's actually pretty cool. It's rather sinister, but it's pretty cool. Cro-Agnon was this great architect, and he had previously designed something called the Miracle City. Like like Paradise Towers, this was supposed to be the epitome of luxuriousness, but then he found that humanity and people who were living in his Miracle City and in Paradise Towers ruined it, made it less perfect. And I somehow feel like there's got to be a kind of psychological condition there, or a theoretical thought experiment to come from that. Like, someone who builds something beautiful but then finds people, but by people using it, becomes less perfect and therefore doesn't allow anyone to use it. I feel like there's some kind of psychological term in there. If there is, let me know down in the comments if there already is. But basically, they sealed away Croagnon in a non-corporeal form in the basement of Paradise Towers so that he wouldn't be able to cause any more trouble. However, he has now been communicating with the chief caretaker, played by Richard Briers, and Briers is bringing him various people to try and allow Croagnon to take human form again. However, Croagnon eventually ends up taking over the body of the chief caretaker. And then it's pretty much up, while he's still prepared to kill anyone, including his own caretakers. I do like that some of this does come to pass. But anyway, the Doctor and Mel eventually gather everyone together on the roof. The Kangs, the Kangs and the Rezzies, and even Pex, who, I don't think I explained Pex very well here, but basically his thing was when everybody went off to war, he ran away because he was too scared. He was too scared to fight or possibly die. And thus, amongst the Kangs especially, he's become known as a scaredy cat. Like, while he has depicted himself as this brave hero to defend Paradise Towers, mostly he's just a wimp. To which has earned him the kind of jeering of the Kangs. But when everyone gathers together, he agrees that he will be the final sacrifice. Like, he says, look, I've been a scaredy cat most of my life, but if I can do this and do some good, then maybe I might be able to redeem myself. Which I do like. I also do like there's one particularly humorous moment that towards the end that I do actually really like. I actually find it quite humorous, which is that the Red Kangs and the Blue Kangs have put aside their differences, and the Rezzies have explained that while they have done terrible things with the cannibalism, they they promise to never do it again, and they will try and make things right, which I do like. I mean, I do like that this is a story where everyone admits they've had faults, they've done things wrong, but if they can do something together and work together, then they're going to do it. I do like the Kangs saying, or mainly Fire Escape, saying to them that, okay, we will work with the Blue Kangs. We don't like the Blue Kangs, but we will work with the Blue Kangs. We will work with the Rezzies. We'll even work with Pex, but we will not work with the caretakers. Never the caretakers! At which point the deputy chief caretaker, played by Clive Morrison, seemingly appears behind them and goes, I have a proposition. Which I love that. I just love that moment of humour going, we will never, and then like, can I join you? I don't know, I just find that humorous. I love it. Also, one thing that I found out while looking up kind of in the trivia for this particular story, Nisha Nayar also appeared in this story as one of the Red Kangs. She was an extra. To which, growing up as a kid in the 2000s, I mainly knew Nisha Nayar for her role as Elaine the Pain Boyack on the story of Tracy Beaker. But she also did appear in the 2005 Doctor Who story Bad Wolf and the Passing of the Ways as a female programmer, one who ultimately gets exterminated by the Daleks. But apparently she was in this story too as an extra, as one of the Red Kangs, so yeah, it's great to know she's in here. Anyway, this ultimately culminates in one final battle against the Chief Caretaker. The Doctor seemingly is about to throw down his life to die, to protect the people of Paradise Towers, only for Pex to come in, and he manages to defeat the Chief Caretaker by tackling him and wrestling down into an elevator shaft with an explosive, which ultimately goes off, killing both Pex and the Chief Caretaker. And the people of Paradise Towers afterwards, with the battle won, they hold a funeral for Pex, and everyone attends. The Kangs, the Rezzies, the caretakers, the cleaners are deactivated, but everyone gathers together to mourn the loss of Pex, and admit that while he was a coward most of the time, by sacrificing himself here, he did good. To which, as the Doctor and Mel prepares to leave. The Kangs apologise for having graffitied the TARDIS earlier, which you can see earlier in the story. And they present the Doctor with a scarf, saying he is now an honorary Kang. She goes, but what colour am I? Which the scarf is seemingly blue, but then they turn it over and it's red, and it's like, you're both. Like, I shall wear it always. Which I do like. As I said, I do like this as a story where, at the end of it all, the people who did terrible things, they acknowledged they did terrible things, and both sides agreed to work together to come to a peaceful solution. I do like it's that kind of story. There are bits and pieces here that I think are a bit too goofy, like the robotic monster in the pool partway through. I think that's in part 3, which I do think is a little goofy. But aside from that, while I admit I grow less sure on Sylvester McCoy's first story, Time on the Rani, Paradise Towers, I feel is a really fun adventure. So there you go. That's my quick little thoughts on Paradise Towers. Now, technically, I've only got 2 stories left to see of Sylvester McCoy's era. There's been Battlefield and Ghostlights, which I might get at some point to watch through. Until then, that's my quick thoughts on Paradise Towers. Till next time, see ya.